She walked into the penthouse in jeans and a borrowed smile, hired as a nanny to the CEO's daughter. What he didn't know? She wasn't just there to watch his kid. She owned the building.
Ladies and gentlemen, lay down and relax. Don't forget to subscribe my channel for more interesting videos. Thank you.
The board thought she was too emotional to run her father's empire, so she went undercover to see the truth for herself. But she didn't expect him. Cold, brilliant, infuriating, and somehow exactly what she never knew she needed. He thought she was just the help, but she was about to flip his entire world upside down. Ladies and gentlemen, lay down and relax. Also, don't forget to subscribe my channel to the journey of thousands interesting stories. The private elevator hummed as it ascended to the 38th floor of the Langford International headquarters, her family's empire. She'd ridden this elevator hundreds of times as a child. But this morning, wearing a plain black dress, a modest ponytail, and holding a fake resume, she wasn't arriving as the heiress. She was arriving as the nanny. Blend in. Don't break character, she reminded herself. It had been 6 months since her father's sudden death. 6 months since the board voted to hand over CEO duties to Ethan Blake, a calculated, ice-veined executive from Boston. He didn't know Avery. Not really. He'd only seen her in tabloids or across the long table during a few board meetings where her voice didn't matter. After the funeral, they politely suggested she take time off to grieve and reflect. Translation? Stay out of the way while we strip your father's legacy bare. So she took their advice, publicly. Privately, she had a plan. Using her middle name, her mother's maiden name, and a fake agency application, she'd managed to get hired as the live-in nanny to the CEO's 4-year-old daughter, Sophie. It was the perfect way in. She'd see how Ethan ran things, watch who was loyal, learn where the cracks in the foundation were. What she didn't expect was him. The elevator doors slid open into a sleek, modern penthouse office that overlooked all of Manhattan. A glass wall separated the office from a small playroom. Avery's heels clicked against the hardwood as she stepped in, nerves tucked beneath a calm expression. He stood at the far end of the room, tall, sharp-suited, backlit by floor-to-ceiling windows. Ethan Blake. She recognized him instantly. The board's golden boy. 36, ruthless, precise, known for saving failing companies and never smiling unless he was winning. He turned toward her and gave her a glance like he was scanning a spreadsheet. "You're Madison Harper?" he asked. Avery nodded. "Yes, sir." He raised an eyebrow at the formality but didn't comment. "My daughter, Sophie, will be home from her lesson in 10. She likes stories, animals, and hates peas. You'll find a list of dietary rules, bedtime instructions, and emergency contacts in the binder on the counter. I'm rarely interrupted during meetings unless it's urgent. Clear? Clear as crystal." She offered a warm, practiced smile. "Understood. I look forward to meeting her." He nodded once, like it was a business deal, then turned back to his computer. Efficient, distant, completely unaware he just hired the company's majority shareholder to read bedtime stories to his daughter. 10 minutes later, Sophie burst through the doors like a ray of unfiltered sunlight. Dark curls bouncing, tiny backpack in tow. "Hi," she said cheerfully. Avery crouched down, smiling. "Hi there, I'm Maddie. I'm your new nanny." Sophie tilted her head. "You smell like marshmallows." Avery laughed. "That's a good thing, right?" Sophie nodded solemnly. "The last nanny smelled like fish sticks and didn't like glitter. Well, I love glitter. And stories and marshmallows." Instant friendship. From the corner of her eye, Avery noticed Ethan watching. For the briefest second, something flickered behind his cold exterior. Softness, maybe even relief. But then it vanished. It had been 2 weeks since Avery Langford became Maddie Harper, and in that time, she had learned 3 very important things. 1. Sophie Blake was smart, sweet, and lonely. She missed her mother, who died 2 years ago in a car accident, and she craved real attention, something no elite private school or expensive tutor could replace. 2. The Langford empire was in danger. Ethan was negotiating a secret merger with Liongate Industries, a move that would give them unprecedented influence and gut the humanitarian wing her father had spent decades building. 3. Ethan Blake wasn't the villain she'd expected. He was calculating, yes, guarded without question. But when the walls came down, even just for a moment, he was something else entirely. Quietly compassionate, protective, a man trying to balance power and parenthood, haunted by loss and overwhelmed by pressure. And worse, she was beginning to fall for him. Late one night, Avery stood on the penthouse balcony, staring out at the city. She clutched a flash drive in her hand, one she'd found hidden in an old cabinet labeled Langford Archives. It contained blueprints, documents, and audio memos from her father, proof that Liongate had tried to sabotage Langford Tech years ago. The merger wasn't just risky, it was dangerous. But how could she reveal it without blowing her cover? As if summoned by the weight in her chest, Ethan joined her on the balcony. He wore no tie, just a soft gray sweater. In his hands, 2 mugs of cocoa. "I figured you could use this," he said, offering one to her. She blinked. "Hot cocoa?" "It's been a long day," he said, leaning beside her. "And you've done more for Sophie in 2 weeks than anyone else has in 2 years. Thank you." Avery's heart twisted. Don't fall for him. Don't get close. But he was already close. Too close. She sipped the cocoa, unsure what to say. Then softly, Ethan said, "She likes you." "A lot." "I like her too," Avery replied, voice barely above a whisper. He looked at her. "What about me?" The question hung between them like fog, not flirtatious, just honest. "You're not what I expected," she said. "Neither are you," he murmured. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed, a text from a private number. "They know who you are. Get out now." Her stomach dropped. She looked up and saw Ethan watching her. "What's wrong?" he asked. Avery opened her mouth, but the words caught in her throat. Because in that moment she didn't know if she could trust him or if she was falling in love with the very man who could destroy everything her father built. The next morning, the penthouse was a battlefield of silence. Avery stood in the office, her real name printed across a stack of board papers, the flash drive in her hand. She'd chosen this moment carefully, when Ethan would be alone, no assistance, no distractions. "You lied to me," he said as she stepped in. She froze. "What?" "I know who you are," he said. "Avery Langford, majority shareholder, heiress to the company. You think I don't check the backgrounds of people near my daughter?" Her throat went dry. "Why didn't you say something?" he asked, voice low but tight with restrained emotion. "I needed to see the truth for myself," she said, "and I did. You're negotiating a merger that could ruin what my father stood for. I had to know if I could trust you." He stared at her, jaw clenched. "So you pretended to be someone else. Use my daughter, use me." "I didn't mean to," she started, but he cut her off. "I believed in you," he said, "and not just as a nanny." Silence. Then she placed the flash drive on his desk. "Watch this. Everything you need to know is on it. Liongate tried to destroy us once. My father never trusted them, and he had a damn good reason." Ethan didn't move. She turned to leave, but then paused. "I didn't expect to care about Sophie, or about you, but I do, more than I should." With that, she walked out, half hoping he would stop her, half praying he wouldn't. Avery returned to Langford headquarters for the first time as herself. Board meeting, conference room, cold glares from old men who thought they could silence her. But when Ethan entered the room, he was different. Confident, sure, but this time he didn't look through her. He looked at her. "I reviewed the files Miss Langford provided," he said to the board. "Effective immediately, the Liongate merger is off the table, and if any of you would like to challenge that, speak now." No one did. "And," he continued, I believe it's time we welcome Avery Langford back to her rightful seat. This company needs its heart again." Stunned silence, and then applause. Later, as they stood alone in the hallway, Ethan turned to her. "You were right," he said, "about everything. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry I didn't see you sooner." She smiled. "You saw me, just not all at once."